Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome once again to the process. I'm your host, Treasure Kalambe. Another privilege and an honor to be in your living room, in your car, on your phone, wherever you're following us from. I hope you're doing great. I hope life is treating you well. And we thank you for tuning in on this conversation that we're going to have once again. We're hoping that every episode that you've been watching is a blessing to you. It's encouraging you, it's strengthening you, and it's helping you in your process so that you can become who you were called to be and you can fulfill all the things you have been destined to fulfill. Now, week in and week out, I'm here saying, I have a special guest. I have a special guest. So I don't even think that word is going to be fitting for today because this is the guest. So special won't even be the word to be able to introduce her, but it is such an honor for me. I have the person that runs everything in the background. Okay, y'all see me talking every week. You hear me talking every week, but I finally have the privilege to have the real boss of the Kalambe family. I call her my wife, my friend. Many know her under a lot of different hats, and I'm going to let her introduce herself today. But I'm so honored that I get to sit today and talk to Miss Bella Kalambai. How are you doing? Ain't she looking cute today? How you
Yeah,
doing?
you better say it. I'm looking cute. But I'm doing good. I'm
Yeah.
doing good. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to sit here
Mm-hmm.
and to have this conversation.
And yeah, and it's really my honor because folks think that the people they see in the forefront is
Mm-hmm.
really like the high and mighty ones, but
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that those notions of that in front of every strong, successful individual,
Mm-hmm.
they have to have a support system that
That's right.
handles it, and you are the rock that holds the Kalambe together. So
Well then.
we're the ones excited to have
Mm-hmm.
you, but let our audience who may not know
Mm-hmm.
who the tremendous Bella is, let them know who Bella Kalambai is. Who is Bella?
Who is Bella? That's a good question. Well, Bella is a woman who holds many hats. I am a mom boy, so shout out to all the mom boys. I'm a mom to three beautiful little boys. I'm a happy married wife to some man sitting in this room.
Some man. He must be
The
special.
famous Treasure Colombe. I'm also a leader, a pastor's wife at a wonderful ministry, RFC Ministry, and I'm also a businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
I started my own little business. Well, not
Mm-hmm.
little, you know, but I started my business. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
businesswoman. I do event styling, party decoration, and yeah, that's who I am.
Wonderful, wonderful. You see, guys, multitask, right? And I love that you mentioned it. You're a businesswoman, and today, I really wanted us to talk to women. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted us to have a conversation on women who hold these many hats and who have these many responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
and think limit their own abilities sometimes because of certain hats that they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's get right into it. You have women who are mothers who
Yeah.
have kids in the household,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will stick with that. They'll
Mm-hmm.
stick to just changing the diapers and fixing things in the house and the
Mm-hmm.
food and the clothes and all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
you chose to step out
Yeah.
and be like, let me start this business. Let
Yeah.
me do these things. Why was it important for you, and why do you think it's important for women to do that? To not just limit themselves to being mothers, but to do more
Mm-hmm.
than that. Why do you think that's important?
I think it's very important because I feel like sometimes women have a hard time discovering who they are
Mm-hmm.
and what their place is really,
Mm-hmm.
what role do they play.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, a lot of women think that just being a mother, changing the diapers, running around in the house, taking care of the kids, cooking, that's the only thing that they are good at, or that's what their role is, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're destined to be. And I do believe that we all have something that God has given us on the inside. We all have gifts, we all have talents, and that's why I think it's important for every woman to discover that, to discover what it is that you enjoy doing besides being a mother. Because I mean, changing diapers isn't always fun and all that, but you know, it's part of who we are as mothers, right? That's who we are. But you also have something that you're good at, you know, and you have to discover that. You have to be able to also find your place, right? Because it can get overwhelming just being in a house and constantly 24 hours a day just, you know, just taking care of the kids, and that's all you do. You know, and sometimes you can be good at maybe cooking, and that can be something that you can maybe, you know, take on, or you're good at doing hair, or you're good at doing nails, or I don't know, maybe you're just good at motivating people and you want to start a YouTube channel, you know, and that's something that maybe you should discover and try to take on. You know, it's good to find your place also within motherhood, you know, because it is, you can lose yourself very quick, you can get overwhelmed very quick, and then you can start to even feel discouraged, you know, and that can now affect you as a mother with your children, and eventually it will grow with in your marriage, you know, towards your husband, because you're feeling all these negative type of emotions because you don't know, like, is this all I'm ever gonna do, right? So I do encourage women, and I do think it's very important for all women, you know, to really find their place outside of just being a mother,
Yeah.
right? It is a blessing to be a mom. You know, I'm a mom of 3 boys myself, as I mentioned, but I do believe that there is more to us as women as well.
And I think you're so right, but if I can play devil's advocate, you'll have those people who will kind of like push back, right? And looking from a culture standpoint, for example, like you'll have people be like, no, a woman's role is in the kitchen, or woman's role, you know, it's in the house, and they'll try to do that, and then women will kind of be afraid to step out in that. So what helped you with all of those challenges, with all of those cultural, you know what I mean, lies that they tell folks? What helped you to kind of be like, no, like I'm gonna step out and actually taking that leap of faith? Like, what was helpful for you that could also help someone else?
What was helpful for me, to be very honest, was, I mean, having a husband that also encouraged me. You know, I think it's important for you as a woman yourself to find that confidence within you, and then to be like, no, I'm not just going to just limit myself to being a mother. I'll be a great mother at that, but I know that I'm also good at so and so. And I think also having your partner, you know, also encouraging you in that specific field or that specific talent that you want to take on is what helped me. You know, how Bella's Design started was, you know, it's a great story because I didn't think it was going to start that way. I've always loved, you know, putting things together, decorating, you know, and I never thought that I would have the time to take on. But having that support that pushes you, and then from there, it's now your job to run with it. You know, now you know that, okay, I have him supporting me in this, my husband's supporting me, I have a great team that's supporting me. Now you have to push yourself. You have to motivate yourself to go, you know, and make that thing happen.
Yeah. And you know, Bella's Design, right? It's done so many amazing events over the years and everything like that. And I've seen, you know, firsthand, you know, a Saturday morning having to make sure the babies have what they need, and then you gotta pack the car, and then you gotta go set up, and then you gotta come back, and you gotta do this, and all of those kind of things. So that could scare somebody, right? Somebody else could be like, you know what, I really want to do this business, but I don't know if I can handle that kind of hectic schedule, right? So what would be helpful, or what is helpful that gets you through those things? Like, what helps you? What are those tools on those days of events, that multitasking ability? Like, what are those tools that help you, that, you know, women can utilize if they want to start something, so that they can also be successful, right? And not, I guess, hinder other aspect of their life, but also be able to do it right. What do you think are some tools that are helpful for you, that helps you make these great events and still be a wonderful wife and still be a wonderful mother? Like, what's the tool that helps you in that?
Well, first of all, let me say it's not always easy, you know, but I think the tools that really helped me is finding that schedule that works for you. You know, because every event, like you said, I have to make sure the kids are fed, you know, the kids are taken care of, the house is taken care of, my husband is taken care of, and then to be able to comfortably go and make these events happen. So building that schedule is very important. Knowing that, okay, if your event is at a certain time, or whatever it is that you have to do is at a certain time, schedule it, right? Schedule that, you prep the food, prep their clothes, or like I had to do that every single night or every single morning prior to leaving. I had to make sure these things were put in place, because at the end of the day, my kids, my family, these are the things that come first. So for me to be able to comfortably do these other things that I also love, and that is a business, I have to make sure that, my home, my children, my husband, everything is in place. And that only can really be effective when I have a plan, when I have a schedule, so I don't get overwhelmed, so that I don't get burnt out. Because after the event, I also have to go back home and I got to clean. I got to still pick up toys. I still got to, do a lot of stuff. But I think time management, schedule really, really helps. It really does make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think you're so right. And, I think of it thinking about our story at least, having a church, having all of these different things that we have, teamwork.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And for folks to learn to work together, because I find sometimes you'll have like a woman will be like, I'm gonna be this independent woman, I'm gonna just go live out my dream, but it's like, no, you got something, you're married, you got some different stuff. And likewise for the men as well, like realizing that, okay, no, there are things in place, and you have to learn to work together. Right. That you have to build that notion of teamwork and build that notion of partnership of like, okay, I'm going to communicate to my partner that these things are important to me. And I need to do these things for myself. Because you said then somebody can lose themselves if they're not doing those active work and are just kind of left, quote unquote, in the background or in the shadows of things, right? But that you have to be able to communicate that. And I want to segue into the ministry as well, right? Church being this whole other hectic world. So you got a business, and then you got a family, then you got church and all of those kind of things. And it's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
It's definitely a lot of pressure. People say pastors, it's a lot of pressure. I know being, a pastor's wife is crazy. But you handle it.
Yes.
Right. So that pressure, do you think it's a good thing? Do you think that pressure is detrimental? It's a hindrance? Like, what are your thoughts on that pressure that women often face? Having to be, if in your position particularly, like that pressure of you're in a ministry and you have a business and you have to manage all of these things. Like, how is that pressure? And like, how do you manage without like losing your mind? Like,
key word with how do I manage without losing my mind?
Yeah.
Because I think it's important. I think when people look from outside in, they're just like, whoa, she's maintaining, or she's doing good, but it's hard, and the pressure becomes very overwhelming. And I think the pressure can be good pressure depending on how you maintain it. Because like I said, wearing different or many hats, it's good when you speaking and you're saying, you're presenting yourself like, wow, she does this, wow, she does that. But I think also how you maintain that pressure makes a difference, because pressure doesn't always mean it's bad. You know what I mean? It can be, yes, it can feel heavy, it can feel draining sometimes, but your mindset through the process, your mindset on how you are going through that pressure makes a big difference. And at first, I have to be completely honest, I didn't know how to manage the pressure. I was like, I'm losing my mind and this is it. Like, I have the kids, I have a husband, I have this, I have ministry. And then, and like I said in the beginning, it's so easy as a woman to lose yourself, because then you also have this thing that people don't talk about, mom guilt. Like, am I not doing enough for my kids? Am I not around too much? Am I also not being, there a lot for my husband? And then you feel this, your own self-guilt, where you're like, but I also want to go and just, relax. I just want to have a cup of tea and not hear mommy, mommy, mommy. And, and just, but then you kind of have this guilt and all these emotions that are rising, and you're like, okay, and you can easily just have a breakdown, or you can easily feel drained. But like I said, I think it's the mindset. how you position your mind through that process and through that period of just feeling, that pressure, saying that it's okay, like I can't do it all perfectly, but let me give my children the best that I can give when I have that time. Let me make sure that I give my husband the best that I can, and making sure that I also take care of myself, because we have to remember, if you are not okay, you can't really, how do you say it? You can't really,
You can't give from
you
an empty
can't give,
glass, right? Yeah.
exactly. You cannot give from an empty glass. You have to be good. You have to feel good. You have to do things that make you happy. You know what I mean? Like, happiness starts with you first. For your house to be good, your children to be good, the people around you, like you said, ministry. For me to lead, to be good with people, I have to be good. Because I don't know what people are going through. I don't know how people will perceive me, because they may not know the pressure that I feel, and how I portray myself will maybe affect certain people, and then, may push people away, or people may perceive some things wrong. And I also think that is very important while, any woman, not just, I'm speaking from my experience within ministry, motherhood, wife, those within those components, but I think for any woman in general, like, just how you position your mind through it. Make sure you are okay. If that means you have to go out and take your cup of tea on the balcony, or if you need to go with that one girlfriend and just, just talk about random stuff about maybe your kids, but just having that time for yourself is really important. And I had to learn that, I had to learn that it's okay. I'm not a bad mom if I take an hour away from my kids. I'm not a bad mom or a bad wife if I take an hour to myself. That I realized I had to be okay. Through the pressure, I have to keep my head up so that I can help those around me. And I think that's what, yeah.
No, and I think that's amazing, man. It's just some great wisdom you're spreading. And when you were talking, it got me to think about authority, right? It got me to think about kind of owning your own voice, right?
Yes.
And I think you find that, or at least we see a lot in a lot of the women that we interact with and that we try to kind of help through these stuffs, is that ability of being like, okay, this is who I am, and owning that, right? And it's tough for people to do that, and particularly if they want to start business or if they're in anything, like having that own voice and understanding their own worth, and not settling or belittling themselves. Folks might be like, oh man, you're just a wife, like what do you know, like how could you do this? So how have you done it to own that voice in business, that nobody can walk over you in business, in ministry, that nobody can walk over you in ministry? Like, how have you do that, and how do you maintain that? Like, not letting people belittle you, but really standing your ground in the worth of who you are as a woman, as a business leader, and all of that.
Self-confidence, and knowing who you are. Once you know who you are, that's a game changer. You know what I mean? Like, just upholding that no, I am a mother, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a leader, I'm so and so, and having confidence in that, having confidence in who God called you to be and made you to be, because it all starts within your mind. If you don't believe in who you are, then people will walk all over you. If you don't have confidence in the position, especially going to the business world, because you meet different type of folks out there, okay? And some people, they can easily just, try to like attack you and climb on you. But I think just really important knowing who you are and having confidence in who you are, because you can know who you are and you don't have confidence, right? And that's when people now try to walk all over you, you become unstable, because you also are trying to figure out, like, okay, but am I really called to do this? Do I really have the talent to do this? So then people also can see that when you're not confident, people, they tend to see it, and then they want to challenge you, right? But I think what helped me was really not just discovering that, okay, this is who I am, this is who God called me to be, but I gotta now believe it, and I gotta walk with that, and I can't let anybody just step on who God called me to be. He wants me to do this, I will do it full confidence, and I'll do it with the strength He's given me, and I think that's what really helped me.
To be able to
to be able to push through and not allow because people will always try to, say things, and you're not supposed to do this, but how you doing this? You're a pastor's wife. Yeah, but I know God has also given me more, and it's all about multitasking. It's about management. It's about, just pushing forward, even when you get, you know.
And it's true, right? Like you're saying, just pushing forward, because you could feel, and I think a lot of people, and I think where it hinders some women is that in that pushing forward, they get crippled because they don't want to fail. Like they're like, oh my God, if I mess this up, or you know what I mean, if I did this wrong, and then you get all of this blame, because it's already enough pressure to start something. Like let's be real, like it's. I think there's more pressure in your position where like you see your husband in the forefront of so many things, and then you want to start that thing that you're believing in and that you're trusting. Like it's a different level of pressure, right? Like that fear of failure and all of those things, like it's intensified, right? And I think a lot of people misunderstand that it's not, you're not failing as long as you're putting that step forward, as long as you have that good support system, as long as you're pressing, you're not failing. Because I remember when we began, and when you began, and I can remember those first little cookies and the first batch of little, everything going in the garbage because it didn't come out the way you wanted it to come out. But that was that learning process, right? Can you speak to that, to women who maybe have quit along the way because of early failures, or who are afraid to start because of that fear of failing? Can you speak to that being a part of the process, making mistakes and learning, being a part of that? From a woman's perspective, can you speak to women who might be struggling with that?
It's okay. First I want to say it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay if that business that you're about to start or that you've started and it didn't work out. It's okay. And I think, like you said, when I started Bella's Design, and I would throw a whole, dozens of cupcakes and cake pops because it just didn't taste right. It was not the right consistency. They were, oh God, let's not go back to that, but just that. And at that moment, I always felt like, okay, maybe I'm not called for this. Maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I'm taking on something too early, but that process is what builds success, because you have to fail. You have to have trials and error in order for you to discover what it is exactly that you will be doing and how you should be doing it. You know what I'm saying? So for any woman out there that may want to start, but they're afraid that they will fail, I'm here to say, go. And then you may make mistakes. You may fail at certain things, but it's okay. And into women who maybe have failed when they've tried something and they got discouraged, get back up. A mistake and a failure doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you cannot do it. It just means that you need to tweak it a bit. It just means that you need to find a different way, a different technique to make it work. Like me, when I had to throw away all those cupcakes, although at the moment I was very discouraged, but like I said in the beginning, right, having a great support system also helps. You know what I mean? And not letting that moment determine the outcome else, exactly. Because not because you made one mistake doesn't mean that your business will never go forward. It's just you learning that, okay, this doesn't work. You putting butter here in those cupcakes, Bella, girl, no. So I had to try to put milk and then twist it around, and then the cupcakes eventually started to have more flavor, and then I had more confidence, and then that pushed me because I started to see the growth within my mistake. Again, the process, right? Not everything is quick
overnight,
and I think that's just the mindset of not just women, but I think anybody in general, right? We want things done so quick. Like, we have the idea, we have the vision, and we get inspired by outside people, and we're like, I also want to do this, I am good at this too. But then we don't realize that the process of it, you will encounter a lot of hiccups, you will encounter a lot of stumbling blocks, but it's how you position yourselves within, those mistakes, those failures. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail. Just don't dwell in it. Don't remain in it, because you don't know what the next step where that will lead you. You don't know what door God will open. You think that mistake was, the end. That was everything. Like, oh, you throw the towel, but Little did you know, you needed to make that mistake in order to get to the next step.
Yeah.
And that next step will lead you to somewhere else. And eventually, by the grace of God, you will get to where you want to get and where God wants you to go.
Yeah.
So do not be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the journey.
Right.
It's all part of the process. Had I thrown those cupcakes and say, okay, I'm done,
You wouldn't be here
Bella's
today.
Design wouldn't be where it's at today,
Yeah.
you know, and I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation because I learned through those mistakes. Was it enjoyable when those mistakes were happening and my kitchen looked a hot mess and you were coming in like, oh God,
Dear Lord.
you know, but also having you encourage me and tell me like, you know, babe, that's okay. You know, they taste like nothing now, but you know, try a different method, try something else. And I think that's all mistake is about. Tweak it. If it doesn't work, try something different.
Yeah.
You know, go get more knowledge if you have to. We have YouTube. Like YouTube has everything. You know, go on YouTube, read about it. Go watch videos, tutorials, practice. You know what I mean? It's just showing you that you need to do these things in order to perfect whatever it is that you're trying to do in life, right? Just get the knowledge, go practice. If it is hair that you know you're trying to start a hair business, girl, get all your sisters and aunties and mothers and practice on them, you know, like make those mistakes because you may think those are mistakes that are pushing you down, but little do you know it's helping you get better because that braid may look a little, you know, but the more you keep braiding, the more you keep doing it, the more you keep using people to be your makeup. I don't know, you want to do makeup and you use your sister to, you know, do makeup. She may look like a clown in the beginning, but eventually
you start learning
you know,
and you start developing.
exactly.
Yeah.
You start
And I
getting
think-
better at that craft, at that gift, at that talent. And then you will look back at those mistakes and you'll be like, whoa, you know, this is where I came from.
And this is why.
And this is where I am. And you will see that your mistakes and your failures served a purpose.
in that growth.
And that growth
And I think
within that
that's-
process.
That is so true, and as you're saying it, love, I think it's so true for folks to understand that. And you know, I think about even in the faith context, right? And as we get close to the end, I really wanted to touch on this. Was that, you know, when we read in scriptures, the Bible says that it was women that were sustaining and supporting the ministry of Christ. But then we kind of just passed through that, right? But in order for women to have been able to sustain the ministry of Christ, it means they had to be actively doing something that was bringing in the resources that they needed that could then in return be able to support, right? So it goes to speak to the value of women not just settling to be just prayer warriors in the church or just, you know, choir leaders, but to really aspire to develop their skills, their ability. And as a woman of God and as a leader in a ministry, can you speak to women in church who think that, you know, all they got to be doing is praying 24/7. All they got to do is marry themselves an anointed pastor. All they got to do, like they think that the four wall is the end all and be all. Can you talk to these women who are sitting there with businesses in their mind? They're sitting there with books in their head. They're sitting there with all of these type of things and they won't do it. Can you speak to these women on the value of their gift and how important this world needs them to show that gift? Can you speak to those women?
This world needs us. You know, we have so much to bring to the table. We have so much to offer. And I think, like you said, yes, being in church and being a prayerful woman, being anointed, if you're married to a pastor, you know, if you hold a certain title within the church is great. You know, those are great things. It's powerful, but also discovering beyond that, what has God placed inside of you that he wants to use you also maybe in the fashion industry, you know, like, and I think it all starts with, it doesn't only limit within the church. You know, you can be a powerful worship singer, but maybe God also wants to use you in a different area where he has given you a talent, maybe of, I don't know, like fashion, you know, and he wants to use you in that area as well, right? That it's okay, you know, like it's not just within that four walls. Discovering who you are called to be, you know, gifts, talent, discovering that, knowing, okay, God has given me this. How do I use it? Like I can pray in church. I'm a prayer warrior. I shake the room when I lift up my voice with amongst other people, but that you're also good with something else, just like myself. I'm married to you. You're a pastor. We're leaders of a church, right? But I always loved putting things together, decoration, and stuff like that. And I had to understand that this is something that God has also given me to bless people. It's not just by praying that you will bless people. You can bless people through the industry that I'm in, encountering different women, not knowing that woman is going through something, and you don't know if God will use you in that area to speak a word of encouragement, to maybe tell that woman that, hey, I'm also going through something similar, keep your head up, and I think it has to play with that, like discovering beyond who God has called you to be. Who are you beside just that choir leader, that prayer powerful woman, a pastor's wife, knowing your identity, knowing the things that God has placed within you.
Yeah.
I think that helps
To get there. Amen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama Bella. Wow, such a wealth of wisdom. And women, I hope that as you tune in, you've really captured this. And I want to close by telling all the women who might be watching us today, right? Your label is not your identity.
That's right.
Your label is not your identity. Your label is what people will give you, but that's not your identity. And you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the gift that you have. You owe it to the God who has made you to manifest that identity. And that identity has a lot in store for many, many, many other people. And today we just wanted to encourage a woman who sitting at home right now, you're watching us with your diaper in your hand that you just changed, a bottle in your hand, or you're washing the dishes right now, or you're standing behind your husband. I want to talk to you and tell you, listen, you can do it. You can do it.
Yes.
There's more to you. There's a lot of ability to you. We're not saying rebel or anything like that and get crazy, but we're saying identify who you are.
That's right.
And put it into practice so that the world can see the gifts and the notions and the knowledge and everything that you have on the inside of you. Bella, where can people follow you? If people want to get in touch with Bella's design and all of that, where can they follow you on Instagram, on Facebook? Let the people know your social media handles so they can get on that.
Yes. So if you want to follow my page, if you want to see the things that I do, the business, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram, both at Bella's Design. So Bella and then S Design. And you can see my page. You can see all the work that I've done. I'm not where I want to be, but you will see the process. You will see the growth on that page and who Bella Design is through my social media.
So make sure you go follow. If you follow me and you don't follow my wife, I'm going to unfollow you.
That's right.
Just saying. And make sure, once again, if you haven't had your copy yet of Reborn Hope Never Dies, go get your copy. It will be a blessing to you, and I promise you it will encourage somebody.
Yes.
We talk about these type of women that today we were talking about on the importance of them taking care of themselves and taking that risk and stepping out in their skills. So thank you again, love. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being on this platform. It was a pleasure for us. And thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts. Share this with somebody so that you can encourage and uplift them. And make sure to tune in next week. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, and wear your mask. See you next week on The Process.